and psychology is more therapy discussion.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway,
المهم.
either way you go, you're having a conversation with someone that is supposed to give you a full analysis of yourself. The problem that you fall into,
It's never going to be about a full analysis about yourself. It's not a computer.
No, I'm not asking. I'm telling you what you're going for. I'm not telling you what's happening to you, because you're going thinking that I'm going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes.
And then you go there and you discover that,
That's not how it works.
1 has 5 in it, and 2 has 20 in it, and 3 has 40 in it, and then it keeps growing. So you're like, okay, I have a huge ass long route. And to a lot of people, that's too much. That's too much for me to go into my trauma, to go into my child, to go into my thoughts and feelings. I'd rather just, pile that shit up and just release on society in the future.
Or the kids.
Yeah. But see, that builds up that whole generational cycle of trauma. Like the shit that my parents didn't deal with when they were growing up ends up being,
True.
Seeped down to, I'm not going to say fed down, it leaks or it seeps down to me, and I end up having to deal with the shit. If I don't resolve that on my own, then I fear that I pass that down to my children.
See, right now, because of all the awareness that's been happening, our generation thinks this way. The old generation never gave that a thought at all.
Of course.
I don't think they were even aware.
Yeah, exactly.
Of the option.
So to them, that kind of thing does
Unless
not
it was
exist.
extreme. Unless it was extreme.
No, even if it was extreme. To a lot of majority of them, like Turks said, it was a stigma. And if there's something wrong with you, روح صلي.
Yep.
That's what it was.
Unfortunate.
اقرب من ربك. Okay, طب انا قريب من ربي.
But then, there's other problems here that we're trying to resolve.
Exactly. But that's the thing. So I do think that the majority of our problems do come from us being born and raised into a certain family that doesn't really pay attention to the outside world. I do not put myself into that because I wasn't raised here. And I'm not going to speak for people raised here, but I'm looking at, my relatives. That's how I can gauge it.
A big part of it
and the people around me.
Okay.
So the majority of people that I see is that, like, for example, we say adat khalid. For me, I think it should be a better definition, because that is misused all the time and thrown into things that has nothing to do with our culture.
It's an excuse to basically justify anything and everything.
Exactly.
Honestly.
So, like, one of the biggest issues that I had when I came here was that, like, I would look at my relatives and also my friends and their families, and how every tribe has its own things, right?
Okay.
And so there's certain things when they talk to me about, like, oh no, we can't do that. عاداتنا وتقاليدنا. I'm like, okay, the guy who's an outsider, I always, I was adding it up with the religion. I was like, okay, but religion says this. You're trying to do this. Doesn't like religion trump your عادات وتقاليد?
And this is where the whole culture element comes in.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know this is us. هذا احنا. And that was used as an excuse for a very long time.
Yes. And until now it's being used.
True.
What are you talking about? Now it's being used actually more than ever. With us opening up our doors and everybody like changing and moving, and the structure of the city and the lifestyle and the quality of life, let's be very specific on that one, how it opened up and it basically made our lives easier. It's easy for you to go outside, to move around. That's something that I think a lot of people do not fucking appreciate for some reason. The quality of life now, going into a place, sitting down with women in the same place, and it's all good. That was a major issue before.
Oh, trust me, it's appreciated. People who have lived through the society back then and society society now.
No, when you say back then,
back
then, is it our generation or our parents' generation?
I'm talking about my experience.
So our generation.
Yeah, you do see a huge difference.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think
that is appreciated.
I think an element of that as well comes back to the point that the gap between our parents growing up and us sometimes is a bit too big. Like we know people whose parents are 40 years between them, or 50 years between them, like the age difference between them.
Yeah, true.
So that makes it like extremely hard to be able to like just communicate.
True.
Because like somebody is coming up from that point in time and culture, and you're coming up here with everything that you're exposed to and everything that you see, and it's just hard to translate sometimes. And it's on both sides. Like parents can't always take the full blame, even though that they are the adults in the situation as you're growing up. But as a child as well, like you have to acknowledge, like part of growing up is realizing that your parents are just people like you.
Exactly.
And taking that halo of invincibility away from them, and just acknowledging that they have their own faults.
Well, this is why
they make mistakes, and that's
a lot of my
something that you have
friends
to accept.
A lot